It's been a while. We haven't been to a galaxy far, far away in a hot minute, dude. Lots to talk about. They dropped 3 episodes of this show on us. We knew it was coming. It's still a lot of work. I say we jump right into it with a synopsis, dude. Episode 1 had like 10 subplots. You want to mention a couple and then I'll cover the rest of them?
So going into episode 1, when you come into a season 2, you kind of have to establish where all the characters are at this time. There was a time jump. As you saw, it was BBY4 instead of BBY5 from the first season. So we have moved up a year. I would say in the total time span from the end of the first season to this one, it's been about 6 months. Yeah. So where we are at. So first off, we start off with Mon Mothma. She's there on her traditional planet. She is not on Coruscant to start this one because it's that big time in every parent's life when they see their oldest get married. Something we'll all have to face sometime, giving your daughter away. And, where they leave the family and they become part of another family or form their own. As it says in the Bible, you leave your mother and father and become one flesh with your spouse. So,
and that went on about as long as that subplot did.
Yep.
I'll talk more about that later. Luckily, balancing off the boring wedding stuff, because none of that hit for me. We'll talk about that for sure. Andor rips off a prototype TIE Avenger, which was kind of cool. It was eerily similar to the opening of TFA when Finn and Poe steal a TIE fighter, right down to some similar shots of him banking around the hangar and then blasting a bunch of stormtroopers. That was all right. They did some stuff there. We got. I'm sure you're a fan of this. That we went to Rebel Moon Planet. Did you see that?
Yeah,
Rebel Moon Planet. I like this one better. I thought it was nice to get away from desert planets in Star Wars. It was nice to see shit growing.
Yeah, I mean, where does their food come from? We've never seen that other than some green milk or purple milk or blue milk,
blue titty milk and TLJ. They went there. And then it occurred to me a little bit later that they actually just ripped off the plot from Rebel Moon because the Empire was rolling through for a supply count. I was like, okay.
And still done better in less time because we did not have slow motion harvesting.
You know what they could have done? It would have been funny if they had done slow motion fixing the speeder bike or fixing the harvester machine. That would have been kind of funny, But the vibes were all better for the Rebel Moon Planet here. I thought that was okay. And then the other major plot lines that they start setting up are where Daedra is. She's got a new gig with the Empire. She's kind of being practically demoted at ISB, but she's brought into Director Krennic's project, which we all know what the project is. It's the Death Star. But she looks like she's kind of annoyed by that up front until her boss, who I love, is like, sis, this is a gift. Like, accept it as a gift. You're working for the number 2 guy in the Empire. Like, accept it, So there's a lot going on in the show. There was a whole lot. Why don't we do what did you enjoy most about being back in this world? Let's just do goods and bads and keep it simple. What hit?
All right. So I did enjoy the first episode because unlike the first season, this season started off with a bang with that steal of the TIE fighter. Now, I was not sure. I thought it was an interceptor.
No,
at first.
I went back and I checked. I thought the same thing. It's a TIE Avenger. It's a prototype that I don't think we see anywhere else in film. Anywhere.
Okay, because TIE fighters usually don't have hyperdrives either.
Right.
TIE fighters need to be jumped in by a carrier or those
short range
ships. Yeah, short range fighter that needs a base.
Like I saw it said it was an Avenger, so I was like, okay, I'll remember that.
Okay. But the classic funny moment where he pushes it one way and the TIE fighter goes the other. Straight from Independence Day.
Classic. I was digging that. I like any time, but you're right though. It opened very intelligently with him doing some Rebel stuff right away, and I think they were smart to do that because the rest of the episode did run a little bit slower on the action bit until it gets back to Andor at the end. When he gets captured, when he's trying to deliver said fighter, because that was the whole gig, is they were trying to steal the ship to get it back to the rebellion for retro engineering for sale. I don't know, like they were just trying to do Rebel stuff, which was cool.
Yeah,
and I liked it also too. They wisely make it not easy that he does just not only have that comic moment where he's backing it up, Like when he actually gets out with the ship later, he's like, "This isn't the ship I was trained on. I don't know a damn thing about this thing. I'm stuck. Like somebody call me."
You see him like bumping into stuff as he's flying. He's not making crisp turns like when they're in the canyon when he's trying to get away.
Yeah, that
he just kind of lucked his way through getting out of that fight.
You scrape those wings against them rocks at that speed, it ain't just brushing that off. You're not just swapping paint with the canyon, bro. Come on. But still, it's Star Wars. You're gonna let some of that go. So I thought that was a much better start than watching him maybe looking for his sister. And dude, I'm gonna claim it right now. We're never hearing about that chick again. Like that's a wrap. Like this thread went nowhere. We're never getting back to that.
It was just to get him into that bar that started everything.
Yep. Pretty much. You'd think this is a big deal in his life that they'd have at least one more scene where they're like, he's like, "Oh, I know I need to just let go. She's gone." And then done. But now they're just like, "Nah, that didn't hit. Crumble it. Done." like Luke's lightsaber. And just peace. Done. What did you think of your boy Luthen Rail not really doing much in this episode, though, besides being at the wedding? I wanted more from him.
Well, that's the whole thing with the wedding. The wedding is to put people in awkward positions where they can't always be in complete control. Yeah. But it was also a very good episode because he was where he needed to be because he has to run that cover for everybody else in the rebellion. And we all know that Mon Mothma and her sister are in the rebellion because her sister is the one who led the heist of the whole payroll of a sector mission.
Awesome. That's probably the best episode of that show.
Yeah,
that's probably the best episode of season 1.
That's where we are right now with the rewatch of season 1.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we started that today.
I like you mentioned that Luthen's there at least trying to like run the game for the rebellion there. Mon's the money with her friend Ty. They set up some stress in that relationship there, which obviously goes places by the end of episode 3, which I thought was a nice little 3-arc bookend, like you and I are always talking about. But also Luthen's assistant Clea, the woman that runs the antique shop with him.
Yes,
she's kind of like his guy, and she runs all his communications and things. Like you can see that they're both very stressed. They're like the rebellion's underway at this point, and that any mistakes, any blown cover is going to get people killed. Yeah, this isn't a game now. Like shit's on after the heist.
Yeah, and then based on where they were located, they couldn't just send a signal because it would stand out.
Yeah, and they also mentioned that at one point, I don't remember if it was episode 1, but they mentioned at one point comms are being jammed. Oh no, that wasn't that planet. That was Rebel Moon planet where the comms are being jammed. Never mind. Yeah, we'll take that. Never mind. That was that part there. And I'll say this: I had it on the note about the whole wedding. The planet is Chandrilla, where Mon Mothma's from. You're right. It's not Coruscant. It's her home world. I like that they put a lot of effort into setting up a kind of like their culture, with the wedding, with the feast. There was, they mentioned a hike. I think it was in episode 2. I'm just going to get it out of the way here. So there's all these nuances that they cooked in, but I felt like even by the end of this episode, it was already starting to chalkboard me a little bit where I'm like, all right, I get it. You put in the world development time here, but as we're always talking about in like our writers groups and things, you can over expositionize and just say too much. You need glimpses of the culture. Like the wedding speech was good. The drinks that they had were fine. Like, okay, but you need 3 of them, not 8 of them, I don't think.
Well, I think that was the point of it all, is that they were doing the culture things, but it set up times where they could be alone and actually discuss stuff. True. And then her drinking 8 of those drinks and letting go is because she's extremely stressed by the time they get to that point.
I got thoughts on that for episode 3. We'll get there. We'll get there. But I thought it was a good first episode for sure. I think weak points for me, and not even that like the Chandrilla stuff was a weak point, because like I said, you said it set up a chessboard. I did appreciate that at least they put some thought into world building. I think one of our common criticisms on Star Wars is literally there's 3 planets in the whole fucking universe here. There's Tatooine, Hoth, and Coruscant. That's it. And everything is some variation of those 3 places. Rebel Moon planet felt very different. Chandrilla felt very different. The establishing shot of Mon Mothma's castle, let's be honest, the castle on the mountainside, dude.
Yeah.
Like how they needed money from the other guy from 3 valleys away to fund the rebellion is beyond me. Like this was Dune level of wealth here in the Mothma family. That shit was crazy. All right, but that was beautiful. I like that. I like even the interiors there. Like there are no small rooms, and I don't care if it's shot on the green screen, blue screen, whatever the new thing is that they use to create those the backgrounds that they do. Like everything is like marble, glass, steel, gleaming. And in this place, I want stuff to look polished and sterile like that.
Yeah.
I don't need that to look lived in there. It's a palace. It's supposed to be pristine. It's not supposed to be Ferrex from season 1.
Which is still masterfully done as a lived in
other end of the
world.
spectrum, awesome, right?
Yeah,
that was my favorite place on episode 1, and not season 1 was Ferrex.
Yeah.
I think that I got one more plus. Actually, I wanted to get your take on it. I like that they're not forgetting what happened to Bix. I thought it was good that like when we first see her, she's having a nightmare, and it's the guy that tortured her in the house that she's in.
Yeah,
and he's just kind of walking around until she wakes up screaming. I'm like, dude, so this chick's busted from what happened to her, and rightly so. If you guys remember, she was subjected to like the most unique, top tier, like waterboarding version of torture that like Star Wars has in season 1. So she is not all there, and we'll see in episode 3. Very controversial stuff there in season 3. I think we'll probably have a good talk on that. Episode 3, I mean.
Yeah, episode 3. Episode 3.
But yeah, no, episode 1 was a good start. I think my big down in episode 1 was Krennic's section. The propaganda films and the dopey consultants felt straight out of Office Space. Like, I get what they were trying to do about how they were going to foment rebellion because the planet they needed a resource from was politically powerful. That makes the universe interesting. I'm with that. But those two guys felt exactly like the Bobs to me. And I was like, oh, that's the last thing I need in Star Wars are the Bobs. I don't like that.
They didn't need it for the spiders and the silk and stuff that it makes.
Right.
They need for what's underneath.
They're going to mine,
ground.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to strip mine it.
And it's interesting. I have a separate note here for that. That's actually the plot of the New Dawn. There's a Star Wars novel called Jedi New Dawn, I think, and it's Kanan Jarrus's first like canonical appearance where he meets Hera and joins the rebellion. And the central plot to that book is the Empire strip mining a planet to the point of like global instability, not like politically, but like will collapse on itself. So I'm like, dude, are we going to get some live action Kanan? Is that a thing? Do we know if Hera's in this show? Could she be? Maybe. I don't know.
It is timeline wise that they would exist because
that was an interesting tie-in.
Because what they were BBY or they were BBY +1, I believe, is when they started. So they're technically alive at this time.
Yep. And we know Hera's alive because she's on the Ahsoka show, which is years later.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, there we go. So did you have any negatives or any kind of any nitpicks that you wanted to add into episode 1? Because I thought it was a small start.
Not really. I thought it was a solid start. I laughed a little. I had some fun with it. Andor still his normal, like he's serious, but he has that little like sharp wit humor.
Yeah.
The way he had that big gun on the bottom, and he shot to get out of the. Because he opened the gates and he flew wrong, and then he realized that something's wrong, so it closed. But he had that big gun with the one guy with the rocket launcher, and watching him just blow up into.
Oh yeah. and then he shot his way out of the garage like the Batmobile in Batman '89, which was awesome.
Yeah,
just plowed through it. That was pretty dope. I'll give you that. Yeah, no, that was solid.
I would say with the rocket launcher guy, I don't know why he needs fur on his storm.
So you know he's Arctic Trooper, bro.
But. Yeah, but he has a rocket launcher. He's on a space station. He'd be wearing a normal armor at this point.
Maybe he was just coming inside from patrol or something. I don't know. Yeah. Bro, it's his costume. If he didn't have it and had the stupid white cape from Empire, you'd be like, why he got the same cape? I don't know. The damned if they do a damned. I thought he shot the armorist for a minute. I was like, oh, what the hell happened? I thought we're not cool. Anyway,